this point in time, I think what everybody's looking forward to is finding that glimpse of hope. We are looking for the light at the end of the tunnel. Moving on, we want to talk about the implication of the pandemic on Nollywood. We all love movies. I love to watch movies. You love to watch movies. And Nollywood industry is the biggest film industry in Africa. And it has been hit so badly by the pandemic. We want to discuss in details how badly Nollywood has been hit by COVID-19. Joining us is one of Nollywood's finest actors, producer, and of course, I think he has also directed some movies, Ken Eriks. Hello, Ken.
Hi.
So good to have you.
Good to have you too. Thank you.
So apparently I can see you're not on set. How badly has the Nollywood industry been hit, considering that a lot of major productions are on hold?
Yeah, we really have been hit really bad because nobody expected this to come up. It's something we never expected. And then when it happened, we had to adjust. And that has cost the industry as a whole a lot in terms of production, in terms of revenue, in terms of activities, movie premieres and all of that. So it has really affected us because entertainment is one of the major things that keep people going, that help them relax. And at this time, we are all stuck indoors, so we're basically not doing anything aside the things we do online. But we know we'll come out of this stronger. It us really hard, and that's an unfortunate one.
Okay, so now we've had reports that major productions are on hold, but most productions are trying to see how they can minimize the production and still put out content. So how has the pandemic affected content creation?
Generally, it has affected content creation on a larger scale, but people still do stuff while indoors. At least I can see people putting out stuff. A while ago, I saw a very short movie that was shot across the continent during this lockdown, people doing their party here inside, and some other people shooting abroad, and then they're editing and all of that. So people are putting out stuff, but on a larger scale as an industry and generally, we're not able to do something that will bring people together because we have to observe social distancing, and then we're not yet ripe for going to the cinemas at this time. We're just coming out of lockdown gradually. So gatherings of whichever nature are not encouraged. But then we still do stuff indoors. We still have people put out skits, put out short films, and people who have done stuff before that they have not released have found an opportunity now to put it online. And I'm thinking that basically most things will be online at this time, especially as regards entertainment. And we'll see how it goes from here.
All right, we're going to talk about online, and we're going to talk about the streaming of movies, especially considering the fact that a major streaming giant just recently established their base in Nigeria. Okay, but before then, let's talk about the cinemas. What's happening with the cinemas? The cinemas are shut down. How has it affected them?
It has affected a lot. It has affected the cinemas. It has affected the producers. It has affected the actors. It has affected the industry as a whole because there's a huge loss of revenue. And this is what people live on. This is our livelihood. This is our work. This is our job. But then we cannot blame anybody because nobody foresaw this. It has affected how we interact, how we even work. It has affected how we put out content and all of that. But we believe that in no time, if we gradually observe all of the instructions, we'll get out of this. But I am not certain things will ever be the same they used to be again. But then we keep our hopes alive.
All right, Ken Eriks, hope is everything. Without hope, literally, what's the point of life? So now let's talk about streaming. You made mention of everything is moving on online, and a lot of producers are actually, having hits, online. So YouTube and the streaming platform I was talking about. The big question now is how can content creators, so from the producers of movies to the producers of short films and skits, how can content creators monetize during this pandemic? How can they make money off the content that they've been able to put together, notwithstanding the challenges presented by the pandemic? How can they monetize it? Actually,
prior to this time, prior to the pandemic, content creators have been making money online, even though it's not the general norm in the industry. But I think we're beginning to look towards that direction now because I know a couple of people who even after producing their films now, instead of waiting for the cinemas, especially at this time, they take it to YouTube, and they have gotten very great streams, and that's revenue for them, that's visibility. And then there are other VOD platforms. There's Amazon, there's Prime Video, there is Netflix, and there are other platforms. So, and then there are even other personal platforms that are just strictly for movies. So content creators are tapping into all of those channels now and trying to monetize their work. So for me, I think it's something we're going to be looking more into at this time, because we have been hit with this challenge. Therefore, we have to adjust.
Of a particular streaming platform that you mentioned, they're currently, acquiring content, especially African content in Nollywood. Now, do you think the pandemic would affect their content acquisition? Because these streaming giants, they require a particular standard when they acquire movies.
I honestly do not think so, because I do not think the pandemic will last forever. Secondly, Africa is a large market. Every investor wants to work with Africa. We have the numbers here, so I don't think it will affect the relationship between the content acquisitors and the practitioners. But then what would happen is it might slow it down a bit. It will slow productions down a bit until a time such as we are able to comfortably come out and gather and work. That's what will happen. It might slow it down a bit. It might affect one or two timings and all of that. But generally, I don't think it will affect the relationship between content acquisition and creating. So we keep our hopes alive. And then there are still other movies that are done in one house, basically. I've seen such films before. And all of that. You have a story, you have a beginning, a middle, and an end. You tell your story, you do all of that. But then we don't want to be boxed into one particular kind of story. So that's why we keep our hopes alive. And hoping that in the nearest future, we can be able to shoot and go outside, go to locations and do our things and observe social distancing and still get our work done and put it out there. So I don't see any way it will affect the relationship. It might only take a little time.
All right, Kenerics. One of the fastest ways to grow any economy is self-producing. So we've been talking about all the streaming giants and how they can acquire our content. The big question is, how can we acquire our own streaming platforms and support the existing ones, if any?
Already, there are people in the industry who have their own streaming platforms. Yeah, there are. I know of a few. And they're very viable and they're working. So all what I think would happen now is that there'll be a lot more collaboration. There'll be a lot more content put out. We have to work more on ourselves now, collaborate with each other, and explore those platforms we have already, while I know that others will still spring up. So for me, it's not totally a lose-lose situation.
All right. Finally, what is the future of Nollywood?
Nollywood is thriving. Nollywood is happening. The eyes of the world is on Nollywood at this time. And I think for us, it's a good thing, because we have to now sit back and look at the kind of things we do, the kind of movies we produce, the quality of the things we do. We have to work on ourselves. We have to explore more. We have to reach out. We have to connect with other planes, other clients, and know what they do there, how it's done, and all of that. So for me, I think it's a connecting period, because most people now, even while on lockdown, are learning. The learning process. I, for one, have learned a lot. I've acquired skills I didn't know I could before, which with regards to my profession. So for me, I think it's a learning process. It's a process of growth generally for everybody. It's not a lose-lose situation. So we'll come out of this strong and great and more prosperous.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing your valuable time with us. We appreciate and we wish Nollywood the very best. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.